Hi everyone, this is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here tonight to film a different kind of video from ones I've done in the past. And this is sort of the Booktube Parasite Tag that was developed by Shawn, the book maniac, which was a tag where you take a video from somebody else's channel that they've done in the past and go through that video and make your own video with responding to what they're talking about in their video. And I'm kind of going to riff on that a little bit in that I'm going to be doing a Parasite tag on Steve Donahue's version of the going through the EW magazine, which is the Entertainment Weekly magazine, where he goes through it and he talks about the book coverage within that magazine. And I think that's a really super fun video that he does, and I'm going to do a similar idea, only I'm going to go through the Atlantic magazine, which is the magazine that I subscribe to. So the Atlantic has a lot of book coverage in it, and I usually find it quite fascinating. Plus they have a lot of sort of book adjacent information in it. So let's just go through. This is the November 2018 issue of the Atlantic, and the cover story is Teacher, Therapist, Parent, Spy, What Alexa is Doing to Us. So this is, the cover story is a technology story, but we'll see what else is in this magazine that has to do with books. So as I flip through here, no books, but there's a full-page ad on whiskey, so that's always fun. Let's see, we get through the table of contents and the letters to the editor. So the first section in the Atlantic is usually a section called Dispatches, and this is a little short essay about something. And this essay is about politics, and the author is David Frum, who's had quite a few articles in the Atlantic recently, and I find his stuff to be very good. So here we are on page 20. There's a very short book excerpt right here, and it is, the title says Crush Bugs, Calf Brains, and Other Wholesome Staples of the Past. So this section is from a book called The Poison Squad, One Chemist's Single-Minded Crusade for Food Safety at the Turn of the 20th Century by Deborah Bloom, which was published by Penguin Press in September. Well, that sounds really interesting, actually. Food safety is something that I find pretty fascinating. I'm actually reading right now, rereading The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. So that is quite a good juxtaposition, I think. So we'll just keep flipping through until we see, oh, here's a story that some of you might like. I know there's a lot of dog lovers in here. This article is Survival of the Cutest, How Puppies Manipulate Us by Sarah Elizabeth Adler, excuse me. So puppies are manipulating us. Then there's an article about Gary Hart. Then there's an article about, looks like public trading of equity companies. Okay, so the Culture File. This is the books, art, and entertainment section. The very first essay is about Paul McCartney, who evidently has a new album out at age 76. So good for him. My mom is a huge Paul McCartney fan. She loves early Beatles. When they got into their later stuff, she found it a little bit out of her league. So this is very good. The very first book review in the Atlantic is actually about Barbara Kingsolver, and it is, the title of this is Barbara Kingsolver's Liberal Pablum. Tackling the Trump era, she brings us the American family novel as a Sunday talk show, all soundbite, no depth. Ooh, ouch. That doesn't sound very good. So this is a review of Unsheltered, Barbara Kingsolver's latest novel. And I have that on my TBR. I've been wanting to read it. It's gotten, most of the people I've seen on Booktube that have reviewed Unsheltered so far have liked it. So this is what the title looks like right there. And the first sentence says, Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver is about a middle-class family struggling to make ends meet as the 2016 presidential primaries unfold. That sounds pretty good to me. So this review is actually 3 pages long, and the author is Merv Emir, and she is an associate professor of English at the University of Oxford. She is the author most recently of The Personality Brokers, The Strange History of Myers-Briggs and the Birth of Personality Testing, which I have heard of that book. I think a few people have talked about that on Booktube. So they do have a little image of Unsheltered there. So that, I'm not sure that's going to be a good review, which is a little disturbing. Okay, and the next review is The Personal Cost of Black Success. 2 men chronicle their rise into the meritocratic elite, exposing pernicious myths and brutal realities along the way, by Christopher J. LeBron. And there's the graphic that goes with it. And let me see if I can find what this article or this review talks about. Heavy, which is nonfiction that's come out just recently. Heavy, an American memoir by Kaisi Lehman, I think is how you say it. And then it also talks about There Will Be No Miracles Here by Casey Gerald. The Heavy is by Scribner, and the Casey Gerald book is by Riverhead, and there are the covers right there of those 2 books. So that's going to be an interesting review to talk about these books about the Black experience in America. And then in the inset here we have another little review of a book called Insomnia by Marina Benjamin, which is out from Catapult. And Marina Benjamin is a memoirist and an editor at Aeon magazine, and it's it says Marina Benjamin, a memoirist and an editor at Aeon magazine, has produced an insomniac's ideal sleep aid, and that's a compliment. This is ruminations about sleeplessness in this book, Insomnia. So that one sounds pretty good as well. But back to, I got distracted by the little inset, which often happens to me in reading this magazine. So this review of the 2 books, Heavy and There Will Be No Miracles Here, is by Christopher J. LeBron, which I mentioned before. And Christopher J. LeBron is an associate professor of philosophy at Johns Hopkins University and the author of The Making of Black Lives Matter, A Brief History of an Idea. So sounds like he probably has some things to say about that. All right, and this is exciting. The next book discussed is Good and Mad by Rebecca Traister. And the title of this review is Women Are Angry, Now What? Rebecca Traister invokes fury to unify women in a battle against men, but being mad can prove divisive too. Ugh. No! By Laura Kipnis. That's like exactly the opposite of what Rebecca Traister argues in Good and Mad. Now, I have read Good and Mad. I listened to it on audio. And the full title of that is Good and Mad, The Revolutionary Power of Women's Anger. And there's the cover right there. And the whole point of Rebecca Traister's book is that women shouldn't feel bad about being angry, that there are real things to be angry about, and that women being angry can bring good change to the world. And I don't think she's trying to unify women in a battle against men. I don't think that was the point of her book at all. I feel like this is a very this is a misdirection, this subtitle of this article. And now I'm going to have to read this this whole essay, which is 3 pages long, because I don't think that's what Rebecca Traister's book is about at all. It's certainly not about attacking men, and it's not about dividing women. In fact, she's very clear in that a lot of the history of feminism has been divisive because white feminists, white women have basically left their black and brown counterparts out of the picture in order to get privileges that they felt they couldn't get if they brought black and brown women along at the same time. And she addresses that very clearly in her book. And so, I don't know. We shall see. I'm not sure I'm going to like that article. And then we have a poem. Sometimes they have little poems in the insets, and this one is called To Apollo by J. Allen Rosser. So that's always fun. And then we have a full-page ad from the University of Chicago Press that shows some of their recent titles. There's nothing that I have heard of before, but it looks like they're all American history or American politics related. How about this story here? Oh, Newt Gingrich. Blast from the past. Bet you're all happy to see him. I'm going to skip right over that long article in the middle. And then there's an article about the Pope. It's called The Martyr and the Pope. What the canonization of Oscar Romero says about the Catholic Church and its embattled leader by Paul Ely. That's a really nice illustration, I think. Really nice black and white art there. Love that. So that will be interesting. I noticed the last episode of Steve's video, which I will link down below, one of his Entertainment Weekly review, or where he goes through Entertainment Weekly and talks about the book's coverage. I'll link that down below, but he complained about the fact that there's ads for American Spirit tobacco in the magazine. So it's in this magazine as well. Great. Super great. Oh, that looks like that's an ad. And then, oh, here's one for us Booktube people. This article is called Raised by YouTube. It has this illustration of kids watching TV. It's by Alexis C. Madrigal. It says, a boisterous new age of global children's entertainment has arrived, and it's not at all what we adults were expecting. I guess not. You know, I have a niece, a young niece, who, I think she's kind of grown out of it now, but for a while there was obsessed with watching videos on YouTube that were, it was like a soap opera, but it was acted out by people holding Barbie dolls, and they would act out these little stories with these Barbie dolls that they moved around. I thought it was the weirdest thing ever, and she loved it. So this article talks about how kids are watching YouTube, and that's where they're getting their TV. So that ought to be an interesting article, as those of us that create content on YouTube can talk about, right? And then we have another whole page of advertisements of recently released books. This is Princeton University Press, and these are some of their latest covers. And it looks like these ones, are there any I recognize? No. Here's one called The Cash Ceiling, Why Only the Rich Run for Office and What We Can Do About It by Nicholas Carnes. Genetics in the Madhouse, The Unknown History of Human Heredity by Theodore M. Porter. The untold story of how heredity data in mental hospitals gave rise to the science of human heredity. Interesting. Oh, here's an interesting one. Keeping It Halal, The Everyday Lives of Muslim American Teenage Boys by John O'Brien. That sounds interesting. Oh my, here's an article that looks a little creepy. The Pentagon Wants to Weaponize the Brain. What Could Go Wrong? By Michael Joseph Gross. Ooh. I don't know. Seems like anything that the Pentagon gets involved in could go wrong. Alright, so that's a fairly long article. So here's another book. I've never heard of this one either. This one is published by Liverite Publishing Corporation, a division of W.W. Norton and Company. It's called The Corrosion of Conservatism, Why I Left the Right by Max Boot. So there's some good blurbs here. It says, in this searching and heartfelt account of his personal political evolution, Max Boot has given us a particular story with universal import. In this chaotic time, his sane and sober voice is a vital one, and his story is a testament to the battle our better angels must wage against the insidious forces of darkness. John Meacham. Whew. I don't know. Okay, so here's the story about Alexa. You've got the nice picture of a 50s family playing Candyland, looks like there. It says, how will you change us? The voice revolution has only just begun. Today, Alexa is a humble servant. Very soon she could be much more. A teacher, a therapist, a confidant, an informant. By Judith Shulvitz. Now I'm going to tell you, I don't have Alexa or any of those voice-operated systems in my home. They freak me out. I think I'm too old for that because it makes me feel like Big Brother is always watching. And I don't really want any kind of device that can listen in to me, what I'm saying all the time. I just feel like that is just like a recipe for disaster. All right, and then here we have an essay about an author. This is about Karl Knausgaard. This is Knausgaard devoured himself. Knausgaard devours himself. The iconoclastic author whose 6-volume My Struggle is now complete in English has lost his faith in radical self-exposure. What Happened by Ruth Franklin. So that's a cool illustration as well. And so this is an essay all about Karl Knausgaard. I haven't read the My Struggle books, but I'm going to find it interesting to read about that. Oh, look, here's an ad for the Folio Society books. So this is neat because these books is Middlemarch, SPQR, The Handmaid's Tale, Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay. I mean, there's some books that we've all heard of. I like that graphic. That's pretty cool. So I think we're almost to the end here. Almost all of the podcasts I listen to at some point or other have an ad from Casper Mattress. And I just want to say that I find it very odd that you can buy a mattress through the mail, have it come in a box like that, and it pops out. I can't imagine that's very comfortable. Supposedly they are, but it seems very strange to me that that would be comfortable. Here's an infographics book right there. The global economy as you've never seen it. It's atlas size, they say. Huh. That's a different thing I've never heard of. Let's see if there's anything else bookish related here before we get to the very last page, which always has poses these neat questions, and then it gets answers from famous people and then also just people that read the magazine. So this time's question is, what was the most significant breakup in history? So Jenny Han, author of P.S. I Still Love You and Always and Forever Laura Jean, that's a YA author, she says the most significant breakup in history is Beyonce and Destiny's Child. When God closes a door, he opens a window. And now here's Sophia Alvarez, the screenwriter of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, says, in my lifetime, for story purposes alone, I don't think one can top Charles and Diana. Has there ever been a more public, twisted, and tragic union and parting? Jasmine Guillory, the author of The Wedding Date and the Proposal, famous romance author, she says the most significant breakup in history was between Henry VIII and Catherine of Aragon. Not only did their breakup lead to 5 more wives for Henry and to the first Queen Elizabeth, but it caused England to leave the Catholic Church and create the Church of England. That seems reasonable. Just a regular reader says the separation of the North American colonies from Britain was the most significant breakup. This gentleman, John Mathias, says the most significant breakup was that of Pangea, I guess it is, which was when all the continents were together as one. So that's probably right. So those are always fun to read and interesting. So that's the bookish coverage in the Atlantic. As you can see, there's significant amounts of bookish coverage. So if you like to read reviews, or if you're interested in sort of essays on literary type topics, the Atlantic always has some great coverage in it. And I really love the Atlantic for that. And amongst other things, I just think it has tons of great writers that contribute to it, and I always like the coverage. So that is my Booktube Parasite Tag for sort of using Steve Donahue's idea to review, go through a magazine and talk about its bookish content. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments down below if this is this idea is something you like, and maybe I would do it again sometime with the Atlantic. And until the next time I see you, I hope you're having a great week and are enjoying some Christmas lights. Talk to you later.